The Glazers are trying to censor Manchester United fans once again, and this is in response to the sit-in protest versus Nottingham Forest last week that's had a big impact on the Glazers. Now, I remember a year ago doing a video talking about how the Glazers were confiscating Glazer out banners, how no one with anti-Glazer stuff could go into the stadium. We saw in the Casemiro unveiling video that Manchester United actually changed the audio so you couldn't see Glazers out, you couldn't hear Glazers out in the background of that. We know after the Super League debacle, whenever there were protests, Manchester United went to Sky Sports and TV broadcast and basically said, do not give any media attention to the protests going on. They've been trying to censor us for a while, but what we've continued to do as a fan base is protest and unite against the Glazers. And the TRA in the 1958 organised this sit-in protest in the Nottingham Forest game, where fans stayed in the stadium for around half an hour after the Nottingham Forest game. And this has clearly had a big impact on the Glazers, because I'm essentially going to sum up what's happened. The TRA have been classified now as a high-risk group and are not in running for the Palace or Galatasaray game. And essentially, the fans that organised, the set of fans that organised the sit-in protest at Old Trafford are now being punished. A peaceful sit-in protest at Old Trafford, they're being punished and deemed as a high-risk group. This is the same club, remember the story that came out 3 days ago, that invited a pedo to Old Trafford as the guest of honour. Invite a pedo to Old Trafford, guest of honour, not high risk. Fans sitting in and peacefully protesting after the Nottingham Forest game, high risk. And why are these fans high risk? Because essentially, us sitting in the Nottingham Forest, the fans sitting behind at Old Trafford after the Nottingham Forest game for 30 minutes cost the Glazers, it cost Manchester United money. They had to pay staff for the overtime, they had to pay for the extra resources, they had to pay for the extra time people had to work that day. The sit-in protest worked because they wouldn't be trying to censor fans, they wouldn't be trying to punish the fans that did the sit-in protest if it didn't work. Clearly, it's affected the Glazers' bank account. Clearly, it's affecting the revenue made from the game. Clearly, they profit less. So they've basically responded by saying these fans are high risk and claiming the police have found that these fans are high risk. Absolute load of rubbish. And are punishing the TRA, which is a group of fans. They claimed in their Statements FC, on Tuesday, a meeting was held at Hotel Football with 25 representatives of over 400 fixed group members, and a decision not to run the TRA for the Crystal Palace and League Cup and Galatasaray games under the present conditions that was voted unanimously. And then they said the club warned us that they may instead attempt to run an atmosphere section without TRA, blah, 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 blah. Basically, they were just claiming that the TRA were a high-risk group. And look, I don't go to Old Trafford a lot. I go 2-3 times a year. But everyone knows the TRA are some of the loudest and best Manchester United fans. They're the most impactful. They completely change the atmosphere. And they weren't protesting in a high-risk way. It was a peaceful sit-in protest. The only damage it did was cost the Glazers money. And that's the biggest damage you can do to the Glazers. Anything that's going to affect the Glazers' revenue, they don't like. So these fans who organised the sit-in protest, which cost the Glazers money, are now essentially being punished, not in the running for the following games, and are deemed as high risk. But this same club invites a convicted paedophile as a guest of honour who's not high risk. And all it says to me is the Glazers are scared and they're trying to censor the fans. It's an absolute disgrace. I saw a tweet to sum the situation up and I thought it was spot on, and it said, United lurch from one PR disaster to the next. It feels, even for us, hard to articulate the shambles of the last few weeks and a season we had hoped for. Whilst the owner issue remains unaware, we've been told fan engagement is never better, but the club constantly shite on loyal fans. The TRA have done good things. And it's absolutely spot on. You know, we've had a shambles last few weeks. Sancho's statement is still up and pinned. Sancho and Ten Hag don't look good. We've had the whole situation with Greenwood and the leaks weeks before that, and the toxicity around the Mason Greenwood situation. But we also had this whole Anthony situation. Anthony is now on mutual leave with the club, and he might not be back for months while this investigation is ongoing. And we've had the uncertainty of the takeover, and it's all been so negative in and around Manchester United. Negativity. And then the club don't help themselves with the way they handled the Greenwood situation, with just the general way that they handle things, not backing Ten Hag, getting Amrabat on loan the final day instead of getting Amrabat 3 weeks before, not getting that centre-back. And, you know, whenever you think it's looking bad for the Glazers, their PR, their image is awful at the moment. This week it comes out that they invited a paedophile as a guest of honour. They then think, you know what, the fans that have protested, the fans that are absolutely peaceful, brilliant fans, and make the atmosphere of Old Trafford so much better because they protested, because they organised protests that cost us money. We're going to censor those fans. We're going to say, no, they can't come to the next few games. We're going to try and censor fans. And essentially, the Glazers are trying to censor fans. I've been trying to ban Glazer out stuff. Whenever there's Glazer out heard in the background of things, they change the audio over that. And all it means to me is that the protests are working. We've got to take this as a positive. We've got to take this as not being outraged. The fact that they're censoring fans, it clearly showed that the sit-in protest was working, and the sit-in protest needs to be done more. The 1958 have come out and saying they've got a new plan that starts tomorrow, la-di-da, la-di-da. And I say, do you know what? Everyone, whatever the 1958's plan is to get these owners out, follow it. Do it, because we cannot be a top club. We cannot be Man United until these owners are gone. They've got offers, they're being greedy, and they absolutely need to leave. You know, the 1958 and the TR basically joined this brilliant sit-in protest at Old Trafford with thousands joining in, and all they did was sit in peacefully for half an hour and are now deemed a high-risk group. You know, and they claim this is coming from the police and all of that, but it's just United's way of trying to mute the fans' voice involved. You know, Man United were trying to get rid of, you know, anti-Glazer banners, flags, songs. You know, they don't want any anti-Glazer things around. It's all censorship. They are trying to censor us. And if they're trying to censor us, then clearly it's having an impact as well. You know, for me, I don't know what kind of threat the TRA have posed for them to be censored, for them to be named high-risk fans. They've never caused any kind of threat. It's a peaceful protest as well. And it's just the club trying to censor the true Red Army. It's just the club trying to censor a big section of fans who are paying customers. Probably most of them are fans that work really hard and they see United as their sort of joy, and they spend a lot of money to see United, paying customers. They're being censored because they want owners that are continually taking money out of this club and treated this club like rubbish and destroying our good club while City and Liverpool are doing great things. All they want is they want those owners gone, and they're being censored and punished for it. These owners should have gone. These owners should have gone years ago. These owners are a disgrace. All they do is steal money. All they do is steal money, take money out of this club, and just let City and Liverpool dominate as well. You know, and now they, you know, last year they went to Sky and said, do not give any airtime to the protests. You know, they're trying to censor things. You know, I remember, you know, when I made videos and tweets and stuff last year, and I was doing like Glazer out stuff. I remember I had a TikTok that got taken down where I was just talking about Glazers out as well. Got my actual TikTok brought down. I don't know if that's anything to do with the Glazers, but it felt like censorship. I did this whole 2-minute TikTok exposing how bad the Glazers were, and that got me a community guidelines strike. And I know the people on Twitter were getting strikes. You know, I don't know if that was the Glazers trying to censor fans, but we know that they were trying to stop chants, they were trying to stop merch, they were trying to stop flags. They've been trying to censor fans for a while, and it stopped for a little bit. But I think the sit-in protests obviously really hit them financially. It's obviously cost them a bit with the staff they've had to pay on overtime, with all the extra resources. They're obviously under pressure from the police. You know, the police aren't happy because the police are using so much more money and extra resources to deal with these protests week in, week out. And the police are annoyed at the Glazers as well. And they're obviously under a lot of pressure, and they think, well, let's just suspend these fans. So, you know, teach them a lesson for trying to organise a protest against us. But actually, all you've done by suspending these fans, or, you know, making sure the TRA aren't in the running for Galatasaray and Crystal Palace and whatever you're going to do, is you've essentially told us that that protest bugged you, because we know that they have been banned due to the protest. Well, not banned, but not in the running for Palace and Galatasaray due to being organising the protest, which says to me the protest obviously cost you enough financially that you don't want it to happen again. So you're threatened to basically not let these fans get what they want, to try and stop them protesting as well. And you know what? The Glazers are almost acting like dictators at this club. They are doing everything they can to silence us. And, you know, people will say the protests don't work, the protests don't work. But they do work. 99% of the anti-Glazer banners are the TRA, and the majority of anti-Glazer starts come from the TRA. They are the ones leading the protests, and they're the ones being silenced. So don't give me this crap of the protests don't work. Why do we keep protesting? They clearly do work enough for them to be silencing them. The people that are fighting for this club back are the ones being silenced. The people that are making most of the impact are the ones being silenced. So clearly the protest is having an impact. And I just think the whole club is an absolute disgrace. It's like a dictatorship as well. And I think right now, and I saw someone sum this up perfectly on Twitter, they said it's time for the whole fan base to stand up and be counted now. Forget forget the protests don't do anything rubbish people say. That attitude makes you part of the problem. You know, you need to get behind whatever the 1958 have planned and sling your hooks at the Glazers and want them out. And I think it's absolutely spot on. I think as a club, they're trying to censor a big portion of the fan base that have been working to get them out. You know, clearly, you know, the protests have got to them enough to try and censor these fans. And we need to throw everything at them. We need to say we won't be censored. We need to stop them doing this and stop them doing that, because those owners are an absolute disgrace to this football club. We will never be the football club of Manchester United. We'll never be the real Manchester United again until they're gone, because we can have a good season, but we're never guaranteed a good season the season after as well. And you know what? Glazers out. Glazers out. For me, absolutely Glazers out. Smash the like if you're Glazers out as well, because they're censoring the fans now. They're stopping the fan voice. What they're doing is generally impacting the fans. And Phil did a really good tweet, and Phil always does good tweets on the Glazers that I'm going to get up to. I'm going to get up here. Phil said the Glazers are completely incapable of shame. They cannot be held to any standards of decency or ethical standards because they hold themselves to none. There is no scandal they cannot parry. Scandals that would even ruin reputation over night of any owner who's held to even the most basic standard of decency. You can't appeal to someone's integrity to do the right thing when they have none. The only thing that these people have ever cared about is their self-enrichment. A modern-day avatar for exactly the type of owner regulation should keep out. As it is, their continued occupation of Man United should embarrass and offend anyone in football governments who has the basic duty of care to protect clubs from being owned by an anthill mob. And it's true. You know, how have governance allowed us to get owners like this? How have governance allowed someone to basically run this club like a dictatorship, censor fans, and just continue to make money out of this club? It's an absolute shame from those high up. And, you know, it's an absolute disgrace. Anyway, guys, please do smash the like button. Of course, subscribe down below if you're new. It's a negative video, but we're positive. Clearly, the protests having an impact. Thank you for watching. I'll be back later, and bye.